7.5 lakh units. That's how many Vitara Brezzas are already on Indian roads, and this new Brezza is here to add greatly to that tally. Now, it is a new model, but it has a lot in common with the older Vitara Brezza. It's built on the same Global C platform and not the hard tech platform as is being widely circulated. Its petrol engine is also a development of the old cars, and in size they're nearly identical. So how different is it? Let us know your thoughts on the Brezza, and if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the Autocar India channel. और अगर आप Brezza का रिव्यू हिंदी में देखना पसंद करेंगे, please check What Car India, link in description. In look, you won't confuse the new Brezza for the old model even if the basic stance is familiar. The new Brezza sports a more squared out face with a flat grille and stretched headlamps, enhancing the visual width of the SUV. Adding mass to the look is the prominent bull bar-like effect on the bumper, and that scuff plate lower down is also part of the SUV template. At the sides, there are subtle creases at the hip line and not so subtle plastic cladding lower down. There's generous cladding around the wheel arches too, but they do make the 16-inch rims look a size or two too small. Blackened A, B and C pillars give the roof a floating effect, and there's also the option of a dual-tone paint scheme that brings in a contrast roof. And if you look closely, you'll note the quarter glass area is larger than the previous models. The Brezza's most distinctive angle is its rear. The wide-swept LED tail lamps are stylish, between which sits the prominent Brezza badging. Do note this model is called the Brezza, and Vitara has been dropped from the name altogether. The chunky bumper, replete with a scuff plate, is neat in its own right. In size, as mentioned, Brezza's old and new are about the same. There's no change in length, width or wheelbase, though the new one's inclusion of roof rails make it marginally taller on paper. Now for the inside story. As on the outside, the Brezza is also very different on the inside, and that's all thanks to this new dashboard that sports a very different design theme. It comes dominated by Maruti's new 9-inch Smart Play Pro touchscreen unit, and that really helps the look of things on the inside. What's also changed is the added use of colors in the interior. You get this chocolate brown finish and a metallic insert on the dashboard, and it does help the look of things at least, but plastic quality really hasn't improved since the last gen model, and you'll also find a few familiar buttons. It is a user-friendly cabin with all controls in easy access and great all-round visibility, and it scores on practicality as well. In terms of storage spaces and practicality, the Brezza does quite well for itself. Each of the doors get a 1-liter bottle holder. You get 2 cup holders up front at the center console. This adjustable armrest also lifts to reveal a storage bay. There's a wireless charging pad at the base of the dashboard, and the glove box is quite nice and large as well. The front seats are also large and accommodating, but the cushioning is just too soft, so on a long journey you'd probably be fidgeting about. There's no front seat ventilation, but the Brezza does pack in a whole lot else. Where the Brezza has really taken a step forward is in its feature list, and headlining that list, quite literally, is a powered sunroof. A cool factoid, the Brezza is the first Maruti to get a sunroof. Also part of the package, as on the Baleno, is head-up display that projects info like speed, RPM, AC temperature, fan speed, energy flow and more onto a fold-out screen in your line of sight. Now at first it might seem like overkill, but over this drive I did find myself referring to it more than I did the actual instrument cluster. Now talking of the instrument cluster, you get analog dials, but there is an informative color MID display. The steering gets all the buttons you need, including cruise control, and for the audio system, climate control, again something that we've seen in the Baleno, but these toggle-like switches work really well. Now talking of the 9-inch touchscreen itself, it is quite smooth. It works well. You get Android Auto, you get Apple CarPlay, and there's also Alexa connectivity. Then there are certain connected features using Suzuki's S Connect app, and one of the distinguishing features on the Brezza is its 360-degree camera. What's nice about the camera is the resolution, and what I also like is the fact that the dynamic guidelines are not only for the rear view camera but also for the bird's eye view that shows you a view from the top. And while the Brezza doesn't get branded speakers like the Bose units that you see in Hyundai and Kia's compact SUVs, this does get an Alchemist sound module, and that lets you customize the sound as per your liking, and it does a fairly good job of it. Ambient lighting is a new inclusion on the list of features, though the big upgrade is the incorporation of rear AC vents that were missing on the old Brezza. But before we get to the rear seat, here's a quick look at the key comfort and convenience features on the fully loaded Brezza. Now, like the last generation Vitara Brezza, the new Brezza also scores well on rear seat space and comfort. Now, I'm just under 6 feet tall, the front seat is set to my driving position, and I have ample knee room, a good amount of space for my feet as well. Cabin width is also pretty good, so you can actually think of fitting in a third passenger with equal ease. Now, talking of the seat itself, again, it's that cushioning which is a bit too soft for my liking at least, and although the headrest is adjustable, you'll find that it protrudes with my neck. Passengers sat on the rear left seat who like to stretch out and sit will also find their feet making contact with the hybrid system's battery that's positioned under the front passenger seat. Now, in terms of features at the back, you get a fold-down armrest with 2 cup holders, and there's a rear AC vent, and of course, USB Type A and Type C charging ports. The Brezza offers 328 litres of luggage space, which is unsurprisingly identical to what the previous model offered. The space is large and usable, and should you need more room, what's nice is that the 60-40 split seats can also be folded to form a near flat luggage bay. Under the hood, you'll find Maruti's new K15C 1.5-litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder petrol engine. The engine is an evolution of the K15B unit that powered the outgoing Vitara Brezza. And among the enhancements are 2 injectors or dual jets in each of the intake ports, and this allows finer atomization of fuel and more efficient combustion. As standard, the Brezza also gets Suzuki's mild hybrid setup that comprises an integrated starter generator and packs in auto stop-start tech. The benefit of all of this? Class-leading fuel economy. Paired with the 5-speed manual gearbox, the Brezza has an ARAI economy figure of up to 20.15 kpl, while the 6-speed auto version is not too far behind at 19.8 kpl. Where the Brezza isn't special is in power. The 1.5-litre petrol engine is the largest in the segment but makes a middle-of-the-road 103 horsepower and 137 Newton meters. So, how does it all come together? We'll start with the Brezza manual. The Brezza's power figures are quite humdrum, but if you're going to spend 80% of your driving time in town, you'll find that this engine pretty much gets the job done. In city driving, you'll find that the Brezza builds its speed quite smartly. It doesn't have that hesitation that you get in some of the competition's turbocharged engines, and that is one advantage of having that bigger 1.5-litre engine. What also makes the Brezza a friendly city car is its light clutch and easy to use gearbox. And because the engine is tractable, you won't need to change gears all that often in town either. The auto stop-start function that shuts the engine at long hauls and switches it back when you're ready to move works seamlessly too. You will probably keep the system off on a hot day as it shuts the AC compressor too, leaving only the blower on. The Brezza is a good city drive, but it's also one-dimensional. What this engine is not is exciting. It has a very flat power delivery, it's a fairly slow revving engine, and even when you go pedal to the metal, the Brezza takes its time to build speed. It just doesn't offer the strong mid-range of its turbo petrol rivals, and keen drivers will be left wanting for more power. The energy flow meter on the MID makes for quite nice viewing, and when you are driving hard you'll find that even the motor is assisting with the performance, though to be very honest you can't feel it. In fact, the way the Brezza builds speed, you'll wonder if even the engine is giving its all. That said, the Brezza works as a relaxed highway car. The Brezza is a happy cruiser. It'll do 100 kph at just under 3000 rpm. Now that is quite high, but remember there's no sixth gear, and the good thing is that the engine is quite quiet, so it doesn't get all that loud in here. Shifting focus to the Brezza Automatic. In place of the Vitara Brezza Petrol's 4-speed torque converter comes a new 6-speed torque converter automatic transmission. In low speed settings, you'll find that the gearbox transitions through the different ratios smoothly enough and fluidly enough, though you will find that this gearbox has been tuned to upshift early in the interest of best efficiency. On occasion, the gearbox doesn't quite get what you want from it. But on the whole, the gearbox does a good job of what it's meant to. And that job is to add convenience to the driving experience. Sadly, the gearbox doesn't offer much over and above that. For instance, that sportiness you get in the DCT equipped Sonnet and Venue is missing here, despite the inclusion of paddle shifters. The Brezza Automatic does get paddle shifters, but given the very nature of this car's engine, you won't be reaching out for them very often. For their part, the paddle shifters are responsive and add that added degree of control to your driving experience. In full auto mode, the transmission performs adequately and works best when you adopt an unhurried driving style. So, if performance is high on your agenda, the Brezza is a bit of a miss. However, those who value comfort and ease of use will have much to like. In the areas of ride and handling, the new Brezza feels very similar to the Vitara Brezza facelift that came out in early 2020. That means the suspension feels a lot softer than the original Vitara Brezza that first came out. Now, in terms of low speed ride, it does go quite well. It softens the blow of the worst of our roads quite effectively and even feels quite cushy. But when you're going faster, you will note that there is a degree of up and down movement, but it's not to the extent of being a sore point. In terms of stability and road holding, the Brezza feels quite nice. A weightier steering would have added to confidence at high speeds, but you will appreciate the ease with which it turns at low speeds. The Brezza has a light and easy to twirl steering, and that makes life easy in town and also helps out at U-turns. But something that has been carried over from the last Brezza facelift is this inadequate self-centering action. It just takes away from the experience. While the new Brezza hasn't been crash tested by Global NCAP as yet, there is confidence in knowing that the model shares its platform with the last gen version that was rated a commendable 4 stars on adult occupant protection. Build quality is good, and the new Brezza also goes one up on the last gen model with electronic stability control, hill start assist and ISOFIX child seat mounts being standard across the range. Top spec ZXi Plus versions also get 6 airbags. On to the matter of price, the new Brezza range starts at a reasonable 7.99 lakh rupees ex-showroom. But fully loaded ZXi Plus versions are pricey for the class. The ZXi Plus AT, for instance, comes in at 13.8 lakh rupees, which makes it the priciest petrol automatic compact SUV. And it's even pricier than rivals diesel automatic variants. Interestingly, it's the engine's 1.5 litre displacement that means the Brezza doesn't qualify for excise benefits available to sub 4 meter cars with petrol engines smaller than 1.2 litres. And this partially explains why the Brezza is not as keenly priced as is the norm from Maruti. So to answer the question we asked at the start of this video, how different is the new Brezza? Well, it is different on the outside, it is different on the inside, and the feature set has taken a huge jump forward. But if you zoom out and see the car, you'll find that quality levels are still about the same and the driving experience is also very similar. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing because this is an easygoing car, which is something many people will like. The trouble is, that very familiar experience now costs a whole lot more money.